Well, it's nice to win a game. I guess that's the understatement of the day. Um, there were several good things tonight. Some really good clutch hits and balls hit hard with runners in scoring position. It was a shame that the game ended the way it did. It got ugly there at the end, but up until then, there was a lot of good stuff and some good pitching and like I said, just bottom line is it was good to win a game and get ready to go to Starkville.
Questions for Nathan? We'll start first.
If you guys finally got a couple of innings with a crooked number up on the board, that first one in the sixth, how nice was it to get those hits with 2 outs and get a crooked number up there on the board?
It was great, but at the end of the day, it's just, trying to do as much as I can to help my team win. And, it felt good that we could open it up a little bit.
And Coach Mainieri spoke the other day about just getting the calendar flipped to April. What does that mean for you guys just to kind of reset after playing two of the best teams in the country?
Well, we dealt with a good bit of adversity, but, I feel like every good team eventually will deal with some adversity. So, but the past is in the past, and, next most important game is Mississippi State. And, we know we're a good team. We know we got better throughout that stretch in the past, so we're confident.
All right, Nate, see you. So I told Nate before the game that I hate moving him out of the leadoff spot because he's been everything that you could hope for in that spot. I mean, a tremendous blend of power and speed, and he's tough to strike out. He's just been a great leader for us there. But I just felt like we needed to move him into a spot where he might hit with runners on base more frequently. Because he's certainly one of the very best hitters we have, if not the best hitter we have on our team, along with Petrie. And you want those guys to be in the clutch situations. I told them both, Petrie and him, that hey, look, we're not going to do anything this year if you guys don't take the lead and drive in a lot of runs and do some extraordinary stuff. And it's a lot of pressure to put on just 2 kids, but again. Everybody in our lineup except for Caden Gaskin got a hit, but the difference today from the other day was, we got some clutch ones. Petrie, it was a 2-run homer, but what I was more excited about was that he hit the ball hard with 2 outs and a runner in scoring position. It just happened to be a long fly ball out of the ballpark as well. But then Nathan obviously, but Gavin Braylon came through with a big 2-run single, I think, which was really the key at bat of the night, with 2 strikes, 2 outs, gets a base hit up the middle, and then Nathan added to that. So we hit some balls hard too, like Carry-On hit that ball really hard right at the right fielder with a runner on second, and Kazmar hit a couple of balls really hard. I think one of them was with a runner in scoring position. So hopefully we're going to get that aspect of our team going, and it was better tonight, certainly.
All along the same lines, all the runs tonight with 2 outs, and you haven't been getting that key hit.
Mm-hmm.
You flip the calendar in April, and you've been doing this a long time. Law of averages, you feel like have to go in your favor at some point. What do you keep drilling these guys to keep their head mentally where it needs to be going into Mississippi State?
Well, you said it. I've had a long career, so I've seen it all. I've been at the very highest highs, and I had some pretty low moments too. I remember my team at LSU the year after we won the national championship had a 7-game losing streak as well. We got swept at Ole Miss, 3 one-run games. I think they walked us off all 3 games. Lost the midweek game and then went down to Gainesville and got swept. That was a long 7-game stretch. So I've been through it, and I know that tough times don't last. As long as your attitude is positive, you continue to work hard, you continue to believe in yourself, eventually you'll come out of it. And it's life lessons for these kids. Nothing in life is a smooth sail on glass like water. Everybody's going to have potholes that they have to navigate around, in their lives. So they might as well learn how to do that when they're 18 to 22 years old. It's not any fun, to learn those lessons the hard way. But, if you look at it realistically, I've said this a couple times already, so I sound like a broken record, but, those were 7 tough games, tough teams to play. I mean, Arkansas and Tennessee certainly were in my opinion, 2, if not the very best 2 teams in the country. Certainly it doesn't take long to call roll for those teams, you know what I mean? And North Carolina in between there. And, in about half the games we were really competitive, had a chance to win, and just didn't do enough to win the games. And so, it's one of those learning lessons. And I try to be very transparent with the players and explain that to them and make them understand. I'm making excuses for them. Hey, look, this is a tough league. We're going to play more tough teams. So you can't just, say, oh, they're better than us. We can't beat them. You have to learn to beat them. You have to learn to do the things. And I've seen some positive things. The way Sweeney threw tonight and the way he threw on Sunday were very positive for us. I still have a lot of confidence in Brandon Stone. I thought he made an awful lot of clutch pitches in that Saturday game against Tennessee. Just, I thought the first home run that they hit was a kind of a wind-blown fly ball. Second one they hit really good, but he just kind of left a couple of sinkers up, and they took advantage of it because they were a good team. But he made a lot of clutch pitches in those 3 innings. I think Jake McCoy is growing, and Jarvis Evans has done some really great things for us. So there's some positive things out there. If you look at the final result, and that's how everybody grades you. That's what matters the most. But when you're in the trenches with the kids, you have to dwell on some of the positive things to keep their spirits up and keep them believing. It does no good to just beat them up and tell them they're not any good, they hear that enough from the outside noise. They don't need to hear that from me. I'm telling them what they do wrong and what they need to do to get better. But you ask the question, how do you keep them up, and how do you, when you've been through everything there is to see in the game, you call on your experience to talk to them about those kinds of things. And hopefully, this month will be a lot better. I've said it many times. I want us to be a better team in April than we were in March, and a better team in May than we are in April. So you just want to keep getting better, and hopefully the results will show that.
Along those lines of getting better, after tough weekends that you've gone through, did you see any sort of give up or head hanging amongst your team in the locker room? Anything required you to kind of step in and kind of rebuild their confidence?
Not really. I didn't think Sunday we, laid it all out there on the field like we did the first 2 days. Maybe having to switch to a noon game following a tough loss had something to do with that. We were supposed to play at 5:00, as you remember. So I mean, it's hard to suffer a loss like that on Saturday. Where we had the lead in the 8th inning, and then we came back and tied it in the bottom of the 8th and had a chance to take the lead, and they turned that 3-6-3 double play after their shortstop had made that unbelievable play. And then to, lose a game like that and have to turn around as quickly as we did to play, it's easier to turn around if you won that game. There's a lot more bounce in your step, but, the kids had to digest it very quickly. And I don't think Sunday was our very best effort. I don't think it was like a matter of not hustling or that type of thing. I just think, we had 2 RBI singles. You can't beat a team like Tennessee with 2 runs. You have to grind through every at bat throughout the game. Maybe we're a little bit down in the dumps, and it kept us from having a little extra fight that you need to have to overcome it all. But I didn't see any finger pointing. I didn't see any like moping. I mean, kids were disappointed. If they weren't disappointed, they didn't care. So you want them to care, but it's a fine line. You can't drag it into the next day. Outside of that, I don't think so. I think the kids are, they're staying the course, and they're going to keep fighting.
Real quick on the lineup changes tonight, was that just giving some guys opportunity, or was there something else going on?
No, that was it really. Caden Gaskin is really the one kid of all the position players I really haven't given a good chance to. And kid did a lot of great things in junior college last year. I wasn't here when he was recruited. I was just taking the job, I think, when Monty recruited him. But he did special stuff last year at the junior college. But then we started the season with Naraki because we thought his physicality was a determining factor where he could hit the ball out of the ballpark. But he's, Nolan was dealing with these knees issue, and I don't think we really saw the true athlete that he is and is capable of being. And then, one day I didn't really quite understand how much the knees were really affecting Nolan, because he was kind of keeping it to himself. So one day I decided to give Jordan Carrion a chance to play, and because he had done so many good things at a variety of positions, and he just won't let go of the job. He just keeps doing good stuff. He kicked a double play ball, but nobody's perfect, and he's done a lot of really good things. So, I started working Caden in the outfield a little bit, just in the hopes that if we had a good victory, where it was a little bit one-sided, at least I could get him into games. And then, this past weekend, we just, didn't get enough clutch hits and so forth. And I actually inserted him in the game last week in North Carolina. I challenged, the position players that weren't playing to see who wanted to step up. And he actually came down to me in the dugout and said, "Put me in, coach. I'll come through for us." And I admired that about him. So I did. I put him in the game. Jordan didn't do anything wrong to come out of the game, but I put him in. And he had a good at bat, and then he struck out, but at least he was getting his cuts up there. And I've been wanting to play him, start him in a game. And so today I just thought it was the right time to do it. And unfortunately, he didn't have a great game tonight. But, Evan Stone has been a guy that's done some good stuff for us. And like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to get Hall into the 3-hole and Petrie in the 4-hole. So, mixed results tonight, I think. Okay, thank you.